published in June. Next slide. In June, this Gazette is volume 720 of 13 June 2025, where it was published, where it sets requirements for movement of animals, enable safe livestock trade, protect free and buffalo zones, and ensure that it avoids the gathering of animals. You know, in gathering of animals in auctions like that, it's like the gathering of people when you are in church there with flu. You'll be spreading the infection to everybody. It applies also in animals. Pillar 5, we are talking about trade support mechanism for communal system. We are working on an incentive, the next slide, ensuring that a communal area to be regarded as single unit as a farm, and will be introducing animals with unknown status. Will be telling the farmers, don't introduce animals with unknown real status, because in a communal area, you can't separate a household from the whole community. You take the whole community as a farm. Livestock communities to also work with us to ensure that we are in a position to implement measures. They'll be taught throughout to ensure that they also convey the message to the farmers. We'll also be introducing a scheme which can support communal areas in terms of the Animal Improvement Act to ensure that animals in the communal areas are not left. But also, we'll be monitoring the auctions because in communal areas, because in some provinces, for instance, I know the Northwest, in the Northwest, you find that there are those auctions which are led by government, and in addition to those which are existing by private sector. We are ensuring those auctions, they'll have to be managed properly. You must have biosecurity officials working. You don't, in the Northwest, one thing which I picked up when I was working and training the farmers there, one biosecurity officer moves from one area to the other. When you do that, people can also spread the infection. That is why for animal health technicians and the vets, you'll find that they wear protective clothing. One other experience in the Northwest, which we picked up, is that one farm when it's infected and the farm workers go to the neighbors, they can be, as a result of spreading even the disease further, which an experience obtained in the Northwest. Now, Pillar 6 talks about the progressive zoning. Will be implementing, next slide, yeah, that one, will be implementing active surveillance, supporting trade, protect existing FMD-free provinces. It's our intention. We have to start with that one. Protecting the Northern Cape and the Western Cape, and to some extent the Eastern Cape, because unfortunately it occurred that it got reinfected from KwaZulu-Natal. But also, will they be designing a provincial surveillance program for each province so that they can be able to monitor the disease continuously. In the medium term, we'll identify zones with low incidence and strong veterinary infrastructure, and ensuring that they are strengthened and create some compartments. In that one, I think, Minister, one other issue which is and members of the portfolio committee is the continued restructuring of veterinary services in the provinces, where you find that the veterinarians and animal health technicians, you find they are separated from one another. It's a challenge because there is not information reporting and sharing on time in ensuring that they're able to act when is the spread of the disease. We're also going to use withdrawal protocols to stop the vaccination, and we're looking into that in some years to come, I think about 5 to 7 years, and support the recovery of OHA and application to OHA for us to be regarded free from FNV. Lastly, the Pillar 7 is talking about the massive awareness campaign, where we'll be implementing measures, and we're working through, Minister has already directed the department to come up with a communication strategy for FMD. It has been drafted, it's in place, it's nearing finality, and will be informing everybody. That in the meantime will be ensuring that we work closely with the animal health technicians and veterinarians to ensure that they are in a position to spread the word, including extension officers. But also we are going to have conduct information centers where we share information with the farmers and everybody out there. At the moment, the same farmers, when we warned them initially and said, watch out, like for instance, I give an example, KwaZulu-Natal, when the disease was still happening in the communal area, nobody started, ensuring that they ensure that there is less increased biosecurity on farms. But we are saying to them, please participate. I think the success of the Eastern Cape in controlling the disease should be shared with everybody, because there in the Eastern Cape, they managed to involve everybody, farmers, farmer organizations, and everybody to ensure that they can spread the word. Now, in the long term, we are talking about a situation where we'll ensure that we continue with the campaign and ensure we provide an update and ensure that we enhance the cessation of FMD control. Now, in this process of the strategy, we have to review some parts of the legislation. I will not dwell much on that particular slide, but I think we're saying that we need to actually review the legislation. Next slide, please. In some areas, like for instance, I'm going to use the Northwest again, we had farmers who were refusing to do the F-branding and saying that the F-branding creates a stigma to our animals lose value. We need to monitor that. The veterinary working group yesterday came up with a proposal, and this one will be used and the F-branding will be discarded. Will also be in the legislative review. We're going to leave the DMA because in KwaZulu-Natal, the disease moved out of the disease management area. So what we are saying that we'll be actually ensuring that we vaccinate the whole area within the area where the foot and mouth disease occur. We'll be lifting some quarantine measures. We're not going to let the farmers stay in quarantine for 6 months, and also we'll be reviewing the contingency plan and creating some health certificate to answer that. Next slide, please. The DG asked me to also talk on the vaccines. We have, I don't have the slide for now in that particular presentation, but we are using 3 companies currently. We have the BVI, they have promised to give us the vaccine by end of February, which is SAT2. However, there's a question mark on using a monovalent. From there, what they have done, the Botswana have promised that by end of mid-April, we'll be able to get a trivalent from Botswana to ensure that we are in the position to control the disease. On top of that, in the short term, ARC will be producing about 12,000 doses of the vaccine by the 15th of this month. Minister will be able to give you the detailed information that, and I can share the slide with the portfolio committee. Unfortunately, we're not included in here, but I think that's where we are saying with regard to the vaccine. ARC will be able to give us about 12,000 doses, which will assist us, and our focus will be mainly in the area of the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu, because we want to contain the disease in that area. The vaccine, which will be coming in, it will be distributed based on risk. We'll be distributing to different provinces, like I've indicated in the slide, where I showed some of the slides showing that the vaccines in some areas like KwaZulu-Natal, an epicenter is a high risk area where we need to start the vaccination to stop it from spreading from KZN to KwaZulu and also to other provinces. But we've also considered some parts of the Free State and the Northwest are also regarded as an epicenter. Free State, the main challenge there is the fact that it has even spread and spilled over into pigs. And you know very well that there's a big challenge with pigs. We are trying to contain the infection in the pigs in the Free State to ensure that it doesn't spread to other establishments. Now, the 2 companies which have been approached to supply the vaccine in the meantime, while we wait for the ARC to come up with some vaccine, where ARC is planning to upscale the vaccine to almost 200,000 per batch. And we are saying that the other two companies which are there will be supplying the vaccine. One company is Biogenesis Bago, and the other one from Argentina, and the other one is Dolvet. I thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the Portfolio Committee.
Thank you very much, Doctor. The unfortunate part is that the last part that you're presenting, you don't have it on the presentation slides, but hopefully you'll be able to share that information with us.
Yes.
Let me take it back to the DG and the Minister if there is anything that you want to say before I give to the members for discussion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The situation around vaccines is very fluid, as indicated. On a positive side, the ARC is able to, on Friday, release the first batch. So the first batch would be released this Friday that we are getting into. And we will also go full stream in terms of the other suppliers going into the middle of February going forward. So that situation remains very fluid, and we are in contact with those supplying to ensure that we have got vaccines as committed by Dr. Muhajan. We will also do that write-up and send it over to the Portfolio Committee. From my side, that would be the issue that I wanted just to clarify. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DG. Minister, would you like to come in? Can we take the discussion and then you'll come back later?
Yes, let's take the discussion and then I'll come in afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, there's the presentation before you. I have a hand on unnamed gadget, which is Samsung SM.
Chair, please
I think we
note
have to
Member
name that.
Aris. I can't raise my hand. Chair, please note Member Aris.
Okay, let's do this, members. I have, you'll have to name the gadget because I don't know how to call you, but I have Member van der Waalt, Member Trollip, and then Member Aris.
Mtetwa is also there.
Come again?
Mtetwa as well, like Mtetwa.
I can't see you, Mtetwa. I see a gadget that's unnamed. Can you name that gadget, please?
It's the S24 Samsung.
No, it's S928B. I don't know. Yeah, just try and name that gadget. And Tlantla and the team, can you please assist and rename this gadget? Okay, Member van der Waalt, I'll give you first, and then we'll take Member Trollip and then Aris.
Good morning.
And then Mtetwa will come after. I'm sorry. Mtetwa will come after Member Aris. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, for the opportunity. I think one or two questions have been answered, but I would first like to know currently, as of now, how many vaccines do we have in our country? Are they being distributed? And have the private vets also been pulled on board, as we saw there was a great desire to assist so that we can get quicker through the system? I would also like to know, you've just also mentioned the vaccines that would come from Argentina and Turkey. I'm not sure if Doctor mentioned the exact dates we can expect the first batches to come. And Chair, through you, I would also like to know, there has been allegations recently that the recommendations from the ministerial task team has not been considered or actually implemented. I would like to know what the department's response is to it. And then we see a growth in that. I would communication, especially to provinces, but also municipalities, where we have a campaign on how safety measures should be taken up and the movement of animals. And it's not only the farmers, Chairperson. If the department can also tell us what guidelines are being put out, especially to province municipalities, also to our farm workers, our communal areas. Are we using all the languages of our countries to make sure everybody understands those? And have we ensured that movement of animals? I mean, you travel, I can give you an example in Limpopo, you travel on highways, you get into small towns, animals are walking freely. How are we containing that? I would also like to know how are we, or what is the department doing, Doctor, that we also advance with speed on the vaccination and the prevention of this disease to also get to our game farmers? We all know that buffalo is actually a living incubator when it comes to foot and mouth disease. And then, obviously, Chairperson, recently we saw there was issues about a court case. Is there currently a movement on the court case by the department? Thank you very much for now.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Mr. Trolley?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the presenter or presenters of this report. Chair, I have a number of questions. Some of them might overlap with Honourable van der Walt's questions, but let me fire away. First of all, Chair, we appreciate that there is a concerted effort, or appears to be a concerted effort, to start or kickstart this war against foot and mouth disease. The concern, however, is that this latest very virulent outbreak started in 2019 when it was reasonably isolated, but from 2021, post the outbreak in communal farming areas in KZN, it has spread like a felt fire across this country. So that's pretty much 4.5 to 5 years the outbreak has been with us. And this response appears to be a little, too late. But there's nothing we can do about that. We can control what we can do going forward. My first question is, why was there a delay in declaring a DMA, which was the practice in KZN, once the first outbreak was identified? That's the first question. The second question is, we raised as a committee, and I certainly did, but I know that the committee did, raise with the minister in October, November, that we were concerned that the management of this disease outbreak was not being competently handled. And the minister was full of praise of the people that were responsible at the time. And I note now that Dr. Mokgajane is the new person responsible for biosecurity coordination, leading the national strategy on disease control. But Mr. Sarache was responsible for this, and Dr. Maja is the Director, Animal Health, Disease Control, and a central figure in foot and mouth control eradication. She has been identified for being significantly intransigent. And I heard the minister being asked on an interview what has happened about Dr. Maja, who has stalled applications or delayed importation certification for vaccines. Could the minister tell us exactly what is happening with the officials that were originally responsible for handling this disease and now apparently are no longer responsible? Then I want to quote what Dr. Mokgajane said to us now this morning. She said, and I quote, "Unfortunately, due to a lack of vaccine, we could not prevent spread of foot and mouth disease from KZN to the Eastern Cape. Now, this is the main issue, Chair, that due to lack of vaccine, we can't control the spread of this disease. Now, various people are being blamed for it, lack of biosecurity on farms, and various other things, movement of animals, vehicles movements. We also know that wild animals, birds and mammals who feed on carrion also transmit this disease. And the fact of the matter is we have this massive outbreak, but we haven't got vaccines to combat the spread. And there is massive underreporting, not only by affected communities and farmers, but also in the department. Dr. Mogajane says they've identified an outbreak in Humansdorp in the Eastern Cape, but there are many other outbreaks in the Eastern Cape, in Elliot, in Maltino, and a number of other places. So I wonder why we are not getting the full picture. And then my next question to the Minister is that there was a long delay about submitting strains for analysis and diagnostic surveillance at Pirbright Institute. And this hadn't been done for 14 years. My question to the Minister is, since the Minister's been in office around 18 months or more, this has also not happened throughout this 4-year outbreak. Why were these samples not being sent to Pirbright? And why was there such a delay in sending the latest sample, and has it arrived and has it been assessed? Chairperson, then we were told that 2 million doses of vaccines have been applied to the national herd. How many animals were actually vaccinated and how many needed a booster? Because it can be misleading if we are told that 2 million vaccines have been applied, but if they were all followed up with a booster, it means only 1 million animals were vaccinated. And then, Chair, what concerns me the most is that December period in South Africa is a super spreader event where people are moving livestock across the country, especially into rural areas, for imigidi, where young men are returning home from initiation and they have their homecoming celebrations. And this movement of livestock went by this December without any control. Now, the Minister has said that he will call on the Cabinet or the President to declare a national disaster. I note that there was a Lekgotla recently. My question to the Minister is, did he ask for a declaration of a national disaster? If he did, what was the response, and when can we expect this declaration to be made? And then my last input in this regard is that there's much has been made about biosecurity, movement of animals, responsibility of farmers, and surveillance post-vaccination. Now, I've been a farmer all of my life, and I have a massive farming constituency that speak to me on a daily basis. No better frontline soldiers than livestock owners to be controlling this disease. Farmers love their animals are their livelihoods. They're the very best people. They inoculate their animals on a regular basis. They are forever applying medication to their animals. They see them regularly. They are the best people to vaccinate and observe and surveil the impact of the vaccination. Why are we not incorporating every single farmer and every livestock owner into the initiative to vaccinate the national herd, surveil the impact, and to get this disease under control? Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Triley. Ms. Aris.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson, and thanks
morning.
for the presentation. Chairperson, mine is just, I want to check in terms of veterinary services, because many of these vets, they do not have offices, they do not have the basic resources such as gloves, and they're responsible for big areas like municipalities and even sometimes districts. And then there's also financial implications. They need to travel far kilometers in order for them to go and do they work? I want to check if there's any funds available for these vets to ensure that they do their work effectively. And then the other question, Chairperson, is why can some foot-mouth disease infections not be detected through a physical inspection alone? And then what factors contribute to South Africa losing its FMD-free status in 2019? And then also, why is the reinfection in the Eastern Cape particularly concerning, and how does the presence of the multiple site, the serotypes across provinces complicate outbreak control? And then I also want to find out, Chairperson, what would be the potential consequences of declaring South Africa endemic for the foot and mouth disease? And why are different vaccinations coverage targets set for feedlots, commercial and communal farms? And then how does non-structural protein monitoring help distinguish infected from vaccinated animals? And then what challenges exist when implementing the foot and mouth disease control measures in communal system? And how do mobile vaccination teams improve disease control in remote areas? And then I also want to find out why might lifting the DMA be necessary for recovery, and how do quarantine measures balance this disease control and trade? And then my last one is how realistic is the proposed timeline for our country? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Mtetwa.
Greetings, Chair, and greetings to the Minister, and greetings to the DG and fellow officials and our presenter and fellow honorable members. May I then start exactly from where Honorable Throlip has actually raised the issue of PEP rights? Because my question was going to say, why is South African IP given to a UK company, which is actually our South African vaccine strain? Why? Because this is a mandate of the state. So taking a statutory mandate, giving it to a private company in a foreign country, that is an espionage in a way. It's very wrong. So why are we doing that? And then why are the vaccines in the hands of a private sector? Is this in line with the act which allows private vets to have a vaccine for controlled disease, which is also not right? The purpose of the ministerial task team, the working relation between the task team and the national vet director, who has key responsibility as per animal disease. Do state vets have enough vaccines to service the communal farmers? Because they're the ones that get affected in this case. And why does the province and the National State Veterinary Forum meetings were stopped? Why South Africa wants to buy vaccine from private companies, which they will not have a South African strain? Is this approach not going to lead to more infection? What are the roles of the task team and the industry coordination council in the fight against foot and mouth disease? Why does it seem like the minister, you have outsourced the regulatory responsibility of the department to the private sector? Have the new FMD vaccine been tested by the South African government laboratory lab and found to be effective? Please provide the testing report on this one. And why did you allow private companies to buy FMD vaccine instead of making sure that your department buys the 700,000 doses that you can, instead of praising the private sector for buying those? Are you not ashamed of serving the private sector interest at the expense of the whole nation? These are issues for me, and this one for me is bothering. It's not a new disease, FMD. We already know that it is gotten from buffaloes. But I see us having not done enough work in order to manage then the disease in terms of responsiveness, because we've been told, yes, it's buffaloes. that are actually the cause. But I don't see us working towards actually restraining that. Where are the early warning signs? Are we saying we are failing? And the fact that Botswana is able to sustain us, what does that say about us as a country when we have a bigger population with all the resources, but we are reliant on a smaller country? We should have already gone there and studied what is it that they are doing so as to improve our situation instead of reliant on that country. That is my take. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mtetwa. DG and Dr. Mohajan, I want to remind you of the meeting that we've had with the CSIR last year in November 2025. In the discussions that we've had, I remember that before I remind you of the discussions that we had that touched on the research that they're doing on FMD. I was worried, and other members were worried that the ARC seemed to be, the CSIR seem to be working on some of these researchers, and ARC and OBP were also working on something else differently, and they were not communicating that much. And we actually requested that there must be some kind of coordination from the two departments, Science and Technology and the Department of Agriculture, in making sure that the efforts that are done at CSIR and the efforts that are done at the ARC, they are fruitful in that there is a link and communication that would help the farmers. So for an example, in that joint meeting that we've had, the CSIR presented some of the innovative technologies on FMD that they had developed. And in the presentation, they included the point of care diagnostics, which could be used for on-farm testing for foot and mouth disease. And that the technology could be useful for disease outbreak reporting, monitoring and surveillance, things that Dr. Mahajani just spoke about in the presentation. However, the main challenge expressed by the CSIR was that the technology could not be rolled out as only the ARC is currently permitted to run the levels, to run the diagnostic tests at its laboratory. And so given this crisis that we are facing now on FMD, on the level of outbreaks, the fact that Dr. Mahajan says the challenge we've had is that immediately the outbreak was picked up in KZN in communal, and farmers took long, or they were very slow to protect their animals. But we are now here, and the situation has gone to other 7 provinces, as you've been saying, Dr. Mahajan. Now, the department should indicate if there are any discussions with the CSIR to facilitate the rollout of the advanced technologies that are cost-effective with quick turnarounds. If you are, or if you have started discussing with them, because they did present those innovations, and actually they presented a number of them, but on FMD they presented these ones. The second one was that Another area of innovation that the CSIR worked on was the plant expressed vaccine for FMT. The vaccine had been developed for SAT1, SAT2, and O-type strains, and that was proven to be highly effective. Now, given the fact that it is a plant expressed and it could be cost effective as its production would not require biosecurity level 3 facility. The challenge again expressed by the CSIR was that the vaccine trials could not be completed as the ARC animal facility was non-compliant. In another, and I think in short, there are some technologies that have been developed by CSIR. However, the department probably needs to coordinate and facilitate the finalization and uptake of such technologies. And if the department could just clarify if they have since then been able to engage both the CSIR and the ARC, and if there is any progress on the animal facility non-compliant situation, so that during this time when you are trying to bring everybody and every knowledge and every technology that could assist us to fight the FMD, and especially because you now have a time frame that says we have to make sure that within the 5 years, the oncoming 5 years, we must have been able to eradicate FMD in our country. Don't you think that we need more knowledge from every institution, and that the fact that we have learned that CSIR has been doing some work that could help? Is it not possible, Dr. DG and Minister, to also talk to them and see how far they can assist? I just wanted to remind ourselves of that, because it's something that when they presented, we were happy, but the only challenge that we've had was that the two departments or the two entities were not communicating. If I can check if we have any other hand. Okay. Mr. Trolip, is that a legacy hand? Or is
Yes, it is. Chair, yes, it is. But I just want to make a note or an observation that in the presentation from Dr. Mokhajane, she repeatedly said, we will do this, we will be doing that, we will be running out a campaign, we will be doing X, Y, and Z. Now, this has been a long time since the minister made a declaration that there was going to be a comprehensive vaccination campaign and to vaccinate the national herd. Then there was a media conference to say that the war had been declared on foot and mouth disease, and now we're still being told we will do this, we will do that, we are going to do this and that and the next thing, and run a comprehensive education campaign. This is sounding like the horse being inspanned behind the cart.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Mtetwa, you want to come in?
Yes, Chair. I just forgot one point, which is also, I think, is a causative factor for us not to be able to fight successfully jointly. I saw a forum calling itself Alternative Veterinary Forum, which means there is a forum and another forum. But this one, they're talking about success stories that they've had. And the success there, if I listen, they're talking about industry taking a lead ahead of the state in terms of addressing this matter. So I think minister need to also look into the issue of the industry of veterinary council, wherein it is also divided, just like the agricultural sector being divided between the commercial and the emerging farmers. In this case, the experts veterinary council is also having an alternative. That's how it is labeled. And the issues they're advancing, they are not the same as the national agenda issues we are raising. So maybe minister may have to pay attention to these alternative forums again, because I think they're dividing the focus instead of working us as a nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mteto. Yeah, just lastly, I'm glad that Mr. Trolip, you raised the issue around the promise of the future, that the presentation and the initiatives that the department is bringing is futuristic. But just to check indeed as to what has happened so far, where can we talk about, or where can we point our successes of what we could have done with this outbreak in the short space of time since last year, Minister, when you came and made that presentation, that you were already planning to win the war on FMD. Other members have asked us to, and I think it's Ms. Van der Vaart who asked whether we do have a vaccines as we speak now. And I think Dr. Mahajane and the DG indicated the vaccines that are going to be coming now in this February, and the fact that ARC will be releasing some of the first batch of the vaccines. The question is therefore, is there anything that you have done so far that would make the farmers and the community of animal farmers feel that there is something that has been done? Is there any example? Dr. Mkhajan, you spoke about the Eastern Cape being exemplary in that you can make it an exemplary because you were able, or the farmers were able to hit the call on time, and they made sure that they prevented catastrophe in their farms, and they saved their animals. Just if you can dwell on that a bit, so that we know what it is that you already have done, that would make farmers feel a bit of a comfort that something is done, except that we know that you already have plans to go forward. Meaning that once you get these first batches this week, you would then be able to go out there. I want to stop there and say that let me take it back to yourselves, Dr. Mkhajane and the DG and your team.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for the questions, points that you have raised. There are numerous issues that we need to give attention to. If Honorable Chair allows me, I will try to do this in this way. There were very interesting areas around controls when it comes to trials. I will hand over to the CEO of the ERC just to highlight the engagements that they have had themselves around the CSIR and the way forward. And I'll also add later on in terms of the engagements with the CSIR. I would also like Ndate Muzonga, who is the Chief Director of Inspection and Quarantine Services in the department, just to highlight the issues around registration. And the interested parties, as the chair has already indicated, that there is quite a lot of interest in and around the FMD vaccines from the public sector and also from the private sector that we have been dealing with, I think, for over the past 3 weeks, having intense meeting with a number of these role players of importance. And I would like him to also highlight those areas. Then Dr. Mohajani can come with the technical issues, and where there have been omissions, I will try just to look at the areas that have been highlighted by honorable members in their respective depositions. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. If I may just ask the CEO of the ARC, the registrar of the Act, Act 36 of 1947, then Dr. Mohajani, then I will wrap up the submission from us as the department.
Okay, DG, it's fine. Just before the CEO comes in, Mr. Mkongi, may I request that you switch off your video? It's a bit destructive. Well, CEO.
Good morning, Chairperson, honorary members of the committee, the Minister, the DG, and colleagues. The work that we do on the FMD from a research perspective, as well as in terms of the facility that we have designed that is going to produce the vaccine, we have been working quite closely with the CSIR. In fact, we, for the design of the factory, we formally co-opted them into the expert team that we are working on. I think when it comes to that level of collaboration, I don't have any doubts about it. But I think maybe given the meeting that the chairperson has referred to, maybe we can, outside of the meeting, just get a little bit more information in terms of exactly what the issues were, and we can be able to follow up directly with the CSIR. However, we are on a continuous collaboration with them, and we have formally engaged them also in terms of the facility that we are developing for producing of the vaccine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CEO. Dr. Okay. Dr. Mkhajan?
Yes, honorable members, want to respond to some of the questions, and I think the DG, as indicated, will give a summary. Honorable member, Mr. Arthur Torby asked a question around why all the time we are saying we will. The situation is that we have started already with some of the activities since we have drafted this strategy. Like, for instance, information sessions. We had, last week we had an information session for all the private veterinarians, informing them about foot and mouth disease, because FMD is a state-controlled disease, and you find that in the university sometimes they just capture it. The lecturing part of it is that they don't go into the full detail of the disease itself. So in addition to that, the directors of veterinary services in the provinces have been requested to start with the information session, but they'll be doing with the communicators who have been identified by the MECs in the provinces, and they'll be conducting those imbezos information sessions. But we've said that the priority for now, we focus on the animal health technicians and the veterinarians so that they can be able to spread the word. The situation of FMD is such that you can't let each and every laboratory to handle the virus itself, because the virus is very labile and it should be put under specific conditions. That is why I spoke about that the laboratory are now being upgraded to reach the level of PSL2 or PSL3. So some of the activities are happening behind the scenes, including the capacitating the laboratory at the Honor Support Veterinary Research Institution. They have been given positions that they advertise position to get and recruit people. They are engaging in a recruitment process at the moment to ensure that we get more veterinary technologies into the laboratories, and they're trained properly to ensure that when we implement this vaccination, then we have systems in place. Mind you, we are at a moment difficult to pronounce what will be our day one. Now, our day one as it stands now is going to be Friday. Day one is when the vaccine arrives and we start doing the vaccination. And our day now, as announced by the CEO from ARC, that is going to be Friday when we get the 12,000 doses. I know that the 12,000 doses is minimal. However, we are hoping that the vaccine coming from Dolvet and also Biogen Bago, it will be able to complement what is out there in the field. So I indicated that this is going to be a risk-based approach where now the vaccination is deployed to different provinces, but so far our priority are those provinces which are regarded as high risk or are epicenters. So the focus will be there. Now, we are not able to pronounce that because this good news we just heard about Friday, it will be small, but it will be able to, we talked about it yesterday, this morning, and we said that it will be small, however, it will reach certain areas should the ARC, because the initial date was the 15th of February. So we were working on the 15th of February. Now it means Friday, if it's ready, it will go and catch up in some areas. But I think the priority will be the border areas and also the Eastern Cape Province and KZN. Now, the other thing, the question was asked with the 1.2 million doses of vaccine, it's approximately about 285,000 animals which have been vaccinated. I will provide that figure properly in the submission, which I'll be sending to the portfolio committee in writing. I will be giving you the vaccines after getting the exact date of delivery from the suppliers. And in addition to that, I think we have agreed that this is a state-controlled disease. Whether the private sector procures or do not procure, there need to be oversight on what the private sector is doing, because we should be able to validate our information and support our information and application to the HOHA to ensure that we know where all the vaccinated animals has gone to. It's easy can manage it in high biosecurity situation. In communal areas, it's a bit of a challenge. It means engagement with the farmers so that they can be able to trace the animals which have been vaccinated. But the veterinary services in the provinces, all the animals which are vaccinated, they record them. And they're also going to put identification system, which has been agreed by the veterinary working group yesterday, that they'll come up with an identification system which will allow them to trace all the animals which have been vaccinated. Mind you, there are also some markets which are accepting meat from vaccinated animals, but others don't want to deal with it. So we are when we export, we are dictated by the requirements of the importing country. Now, Minister Trolley, Honorable Member Trolley also asked a question around the Eastern Cape, why it got reinfected. For now, what we have is illegal movement. And that is why we're saying the vaccination strategy cannot be implemented alone. There need to be strict movement control of animals, and will be actually ensuring that we enforce the movement controls, because veterinary officials are not in a position to enforce that, but we will work with the SAPS, and we'll starting with the education next week to inform the SAPS on the requirements of FMD control. So these are the things which you are doing, and some of those activities have already started. What we can show off and indicate we have done and we brag about it, I think, is the success story of the Eastern Cape. And that success story, I think each and every province need to do that. The Eastern Cape, they work together. I'm talking about not having splinter groups of farmers who think will work against government or start issuing statements which are not in align with government, what government needs to achieve. So that success story of Eastern Cape is the one which I can point out as a success story. In addition to the technologies which are there in the CIR is also being engaged on the identification skill system, which is there, and they have implemented that in Limpopo and some parts of the Mpumalanga province. So we will be saying to you that we have started with some activities. I think it's just for us to have a spreadsheet to indicate to you where we are in terms of each and every activity which we said we are going to do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makhajane. Honourable members, I'm just trying to check if there's any follow-up that you would like to make, or if your questions have been answered, we can then continue. Ted, we are follow-up, Anoma.
Ngifaka elinye iphuzu le kwaZulu into eyenzeka khona. Yes, what is happening in KZN, the farmers, the black farmers told me that they are seeing a movement of livestock, and it comes from the commercial farmers. They are able to move theirs, yet there was a moratorium that no movement of animals. Now, this has a reverse impact in terms of the economy of the emerging farmers. So I think we need to disaggregate the farming industry in such a way that the emerging farmers will probably have problems in having all the necessary tools of trade to be compliant, and therefore our direction of the state should at least focus on them so as to assist them, because the commercial farmers, they have capacity in terms of financially and such that they can be able to be self-sufficient as opposed to the emerging one. So maybe in terms of dealing with this, we don't just apply a blanket approach, but be thoughtful of the previously disadvantaged farmers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mteto. Before I hand over to the minister, if the DG is fine, but if you would like to come in, DG, you'll indicate. However, I just want to make a follow-up on the issue that has been raised for both the minister and the DG. The issue that has been raised by Mr. Trolley on who actually is now leading the FMD control situation, and that we have Dr. Makhajane now, and initially stated by Mr. Trolley that the minister had spoken about the DDG Srage and the director on animal health. I think it's Maja, if I'm not mistaken. I'm raising this matter because in the news, the minister was asked a question as to why is this director not attending meetings of the task team, and the minister did not answer. Instead, he said to the woman who was interviewing her that they should ask Maja, and the interviewer says, no, we spoke to her, left out of that. She was not cooperative, and probably she was not doing her job properly. And the presenter even went to an extent of saying the entire challenge of the foot and mouth and disease has only been left to one person in the department, which was Maja. And when she responded, although she was not interviewed there, but the response that she posted was that she only attends the meetings only when she's invited. She's not part of the task team. So it would help, Minister, that when you respond to most of the issues that have been raised that may not have been responded to by Dr. Mkhajane and the DG, that you also clarify this matter so that you don't leave this official alone there with the narrative that says she's not listening to the leadership of the department. And if she does that, indeed, what is going to be done or what has already been done about that situation? Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thanks to Dr. Mogajani for the presentation, and of course thanks to the contributions by members. I will just try and deal with some of the matters that perhaps were not dealt with sufficiently, but I do think it is important to give the committee some background on this. I hear the Honourable Trollip saying I've been in office for 18 months, but essentially what we're dealing with here is over 20 years of neglect in our biosecurity environment. And you may recall, Chair, when I first made my first speech as Minister, biosecurity is everybody's responsibility was one of the key messages that came through there. Because we will continue to have these types of outbreaks. Today it's FMD, could have brucellosis, African swine fever, avian flu, if we don't start as a country to take biosecurity seriously. And that is what we've begun to now do in the department, and why you've seen a reorientation. So what have I done since coming into office? First of all, we, for the very first time, realizing that because biosecurity is everybody's responsibility, we required a whole of society response. And that was why we convened in July last year the Lekgotla, the Bosberaad, that brought together for the first time in the history of South Africa the private sector, industry representatives, private veterinarians, scientists, academics, and the department to decide that we need to change the direction that we're moving in as a country. The result of that was the formation of the task team, which is made up 50% of the private sector, industry, academics, and scientists, and the other 50% by the department and our veterinarians and the like. There had been some concern from industry side about one of the persons who you've mentioned, and that was why it was felt that it would be better for, if we're going to have a whole of society approach, to have that team working as closely as possible. That team was tasked by the minister to come up with suggestions on a new strategy to deal with foot and mouth disease once and for all in the country. For the last 20-something years, we've been chasing FMD. We follow it around where it breaks out, we deal with it, and then it breaks out again in another part of the country. Now, we could have continued with that particular approach, but I don't think that that's how you deal with these things. And having studied very carefully since I came into office how other countries have dealt with it, having interacted with ministers and scientists from all over the world that we had to do something different, and that if you want to deal with FMD, you have to adopt a proactive strategy, not a reactive strategy. The task team then came up with 3 options about the way forward. Obviously, carrying on with what we've been doing was one of them. Focusing rather on trying to enforce movement control and others was another. And the third was the vaccination strategy. And on the advice of scientists and on an evidence-based basis, that is the approach that we've adopted. Since then, the state had procured the largest procurement of vaccines in the history of the Department of Agriculture, with over 2 million vaccines coming into the country through Botswana Vaccine Institute. And we used those vaccines all over the country, and we would have continued with that, except for the fact that Botswana in December had a mandatory closure of their factory in order to do some cleaning as required in terms of international regulations for the maintenance of their status. That meant that there was now a hiatus because we've always only got vaccines from Botswana. What did we do then? Well, we realized then, as Dr. Mogajani said, that we need to open up the vaccine market and to try and source vaccines from other parts of the world. And we've done that. We've now got the Dolvet vaccine arriving. We will have Biogenesis Bago coming in. And never again in South Africa will we be reliant on a single vaccine supplier. And we will now have a variety of those. And I think there's a lot of confusion about Pirbright, what Pirbright is and what Pirbright isn't. Pirbright is an international reference laboratory where strains are matched so that it makes vaccine matching easier at an international level. They don't manufacture vaccines at Pirbright, they just do vaccine matching. So Pirbright won't be manufacturing vaccines from field strains from South Africa. What they will allow us to do, though, is for vaccine suppliers, wherever they may be in the world, to match their vaccines to see whether the SAT1, 2, and 3 strains are permitted and will be efficient and have the efficacy required to beat our foot and mouth disease strains in South Africa. I think it is important to say that we have our own reference laboratories here in South Africa. The ARC's TAD is a reference laboratory, an international reference laboratory. And so vaccine matching has been done there with exactly the same type of results that you would see being done at Pirbright. Why Pirbright is important is because we do have commitments in terms of the World Organization of Animal Health. We are signatories to a number of international agreements that would require us to do so. I'm not sure what the delay that Mr. Trollope's referring to. We gave the directive in December. That directive was then executed. Now, it's not, as some people say, drawing blood from an infected animal and sending it to Pirbright. There's a specific format that Pirbright requires. The field strains, they have to be isolated, and they have to be put in a set format to enable Pirbright to A, receive them, and to B, then have them available for matching. We already know what strains are circulating in South Africa. We know that there's SAT1, SAT2, and SAT3, and that is why we're able to test the efficacy of any vaccine in our own testing. That is the process that we've been through now with SAPRA, bearing in mind that any new vaccine into the country has to be registered by SAPRA. SAPRA falls under the Department of Health, and we have been working with them to fast-track on an emergency basis vaccines from Dolvet, which has been approved for import, and as you've heard, those vaccines will arrive next week, the first 1.5 million of them. And it allowed us to match their strains with our local strains and then for SAPRA to approve it. They've done the same, I'm busy with the same with Biogenesis Bago, and we will obviously, I think Dr. Mogajani's indicated the delivery dates for those. And in addition to that, we focused on how do we ensure that we retain our own sovereignty around vaccines, and that never again are we reliant on international companies for our own domestic herd. And that is why, for the first time in 20-something years, the first doses of the locally produced vaccine will roll off the production line at the ARC. Now, although it is a limited quantity at this stage, I think it marks a significant milestone in our own biosecurity wall that we intend to build in South Africa, that we will be able to provide our own vaccines in the future. And the ARC has the funding and a plan to be able to ramp up production through the course of this year. And in the first quarter of next year, I believe fundamentally that within a year or two, we will be vaccine independent. In other words, we will have the option open to import vaccines, which we must always do, but that our main reliance will be on our own homegrown multivalent vaccine that is a single dose that we can roll out locally and market internationally. So I'm not sure what the delay that's being referred to there. Those who know the structure of the department, and I would certainly hope that members of the portfolio committee would have familiarized themselves with the organogram of the department, and if not, perhaps there needs to be a presentation thereon, would know that Dr. Mogajani is the Chief Director of Biosecurity. This is a new position that was established since I became minister, and it's a signal about how serious we're taking biosecurity. But if you look at the organogram, you would know that Dr. Mogajani reports directly into DDG Sarache, whose directorate is the primary directorate dealing with all animal diseases and foot and mouth disease. Why we've brought Dr. Mogajani here today is because she is a preeminent veterinarian with a very proud pedigree of involvement in veterinary activities at both a government and private level. What we wanted to provide the committee with today was someone who was a veterinarian who would be able to answer the technical questions, as Dr. Mogajani has done quite significantly. Turning to Mr. Trollip, and I would encourage Honourable Trollip to read the very good piece that's been shared now on News 24 by people who actually know what they're talking about, actual agricultural economists, not wannabe agriculturists and snake oil salesmen, of which there is no shortage of in South Africa, and understand there where the requirement is that this remains a state-led disease. It's both our Animal Health Act as well as the WOHA obligations that we have. And they set it out very clearly there why that is the case. However, what we have done is taken the private sector along with us and farmers along with us every step of the way. Farmer organizations, representative organizations were all invited to the Bosbarat. I have formed a monitoring and implementation team that is made up of Agri-SA, TLU, AFOSA, the commodity bodies who are assisting us with that. We will also be utilizing private veterinarians to assist us in the vaccination drive. It is our intention within the 12-month period, as Dr. Mogajani has outlined, to vaccinate 80% of the targeted herds. Now, the state can't do that alone and will require the support of private veterinarians, and we're in the process of developing the protocols, which we will release in the next few days, that detail how that process will be rolled out, given the fact that we're now starting to see vaccines rolling in. If Mr. Trollip or anybody else on this call is aware of any other place where we could have got vaccines in the month that BVI was not able to prove, I would really gratefully receive it, and I would be very, very happy to then procure those vaccines. But to my knowledge, and in the international outreach that we've done, the only people who can provide us vaccines in the short term are Biogenesis Bago, Dolvet, and the ARC and BVI. Those vaccines have strains matched and are a match. Now, there may well be other vaccines that come online.
Recording stopped.
I would challenge any member of this portfolio committee to point to me where I could have, or we could have procured vaccines from in the intervening period, and I will be happy to procure from them immediately. There are some rumors doing the rounds, particularly from some rather nasty individuals, that somebody here can produce vaccines at 10 Rand a shot. Well, my answer to that is very simple. If you can produce FMD vaccines at 10 Rand a shot, go to SAHPRA, do a Section 21 application, and we will buy the vaccines from you, provided they meet, as Dr. Mogajani has very clearly said, the TPP requirements of any vaccine. Now, there are some quarters, and I hear it echoed by Honourable Trollip today, that says, well, we should just allow a free-for-all, that farmers should be able to just have access to the vaccine and to vaccinate at will. Now, there are two problems with that. The first problem is we have very stringent requirements in terms of WOHA if we want to get FMD.
Honourable Minister, I'm sorry. Honourable Minister, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disturb your flow. I just want to check with the officials, why are we stopping recording? Why are you not recording, Albertina? Can somebody talk to me?
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much, Minister. Please continue.
Thank you, Chairperson. As I was saying, there's a problem. There's two major problems with that approach. First is we're signatories to the WOHA international agreements. FMD vaccines internationally are controlled substances. There's no country in the world where you can walk into a local co-op and take vaccines, FMD vaccines, off the shelf. That is why there's such strict requirements for their production, and that they can only be made in a BSL-3 laboratory, as well as the relevant security that goes with it. And that's also why there are limited producers of FMD vaccines around the world, because it is a very arduous and strictly controlled process. And for some companies, it's just not worth it. Boehringer Ingelheim, for instance, are ceasing production of FMD vaccines because they find the process is not value for money. They remain restricted processes because there is a very real prospect that they can be used in bioterrorism and agroterrorism. So, like when you go to any pharmacy, or like we saw during COVID, there are some vaccines or medicines that you can buy over the shelf, off the shelf, or over the counter. But there are others that are restricted schedule medications. Now, during COVID-19, despite the fact that we had a pandemic, nobody could walk into a pharmacy and buy a COVID vaccine and go home and administer it to their children. Because in order to meet our international obligations, we had to record the number of vaccines. You have to then test the viral loads, you have to monitor symptoms and the like. And so it goes with foot and mouth disease. There is no point in us spending the billions as private sector and public sector on vaccines if it's not going to change our FMD status in the country. It would really be the largest waste of money in the history of the agricultural sector, because what you'll do is get this current outbreak under control, and then we potentially end up not being able to get it under control going forward, and we don't meet the reporting requirements, which are very stringent, in a year or two's time when we want to apply for FMD-free status with vaccination. We have to have vaccines administered by veterinarians and animal health technicians and certified individuals, because there is going to be a protocol and procedure that's required for the monitoring and surveillance that follows it. We've also already seen in KwaZulu-Natal what happens when there's a vaccine free for all and people can just bring in vaccines. We had importation of a vaccine from Kenya, which has serotypes and strains in it which do not appear here in South Africa. And that could quite severely compromise our fight against foot and mouth disease if we have strains circulating because somebody's decided it's a good idea to just import their own vaccines and vaccinate their animals. And then we end up with our vaccines being ineffective because a farmer has decided that he knows better than anybody else and has vaccinated his animals. So it's a lot more complex than that Sai and others try to make out. It's a very complex thing, and we have to be science-led. The education campaigns have started already. There've been a number of them. There's been I recorded adverts in the November of last year, which are circulating. We're doing radio adverts in vernacular into particularly the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal in order to ensure that we are able to communicate. So, Chairperson, really for the very first time in 30 years, our country now has a very clear pathway to get on top of FMD, not through a reactive strategy, but through a proactive strategy. And it is a strategy that we'll continue to use. And yes, buffaloes will be a challenge. And one of the reasons that I've now asked that we have a vet that specializes in wildlife and on the ministerial task team is because that in the medium to long term, we're going to have to deal with the issue of buffaloes in the country. How we intend to do that will be to, whilst we stop vaccinating in other parts of the country, we will continue to prophylactically vaccinate in those areas to create the buffer zone so that we can protect the national herd from the endemic nature of this in buffaloes going forward. I can't answer for what has happened since 2019. I can't answer for why we stopped producing our own vaccines. And I can't answer for why we'd always used only one international vaccine supplier. What I can answer for is what we've done since I took office 18 months ago. And I think that the department and I have made more progress that's been made in the last 20 years in terms of developing a strategy that is science-led, that has the backing of academics, scientists, veterinarians, and which has adopted a whole-of-society approach that ensures that everybody is brought on board and that the people that are most affected, farmers on the ground, have a voice in the implementation and monitoring team through their representative agricultural organizations. I would end and say that we can vaccinate all we like and the like, and I've seen there's been some criticism about movement control and the disaster management declaration. The disaster management declaration is being finalized. The department has been finalizing its work with the COGTA department and the National Disaster Management Agency, and that is going to cabinet for a declaration of a disaster management. Why is this important? Well, I don't see it unlocking extra funds, and we're pretty confident we've got the funds we need to fund the vaccine rollout. But what it will do is allow us to activate NAT joints and others, because contrary to what some may say, I do not have an agricultural police service. My department has got no powers to set up roadblocks, and it has no powers to pull vehicles off the road. We rely on cooperation with the SAPS, traffic, and others who also have competing pulls from Home Affairs on illegal raids on illegal immigrants, from the traffic sector for the drunk driving roadblocks and the like, and from checking for weapons, and from the BMA to assist with issues around border transgressions, etc. So we have a very limited SAPS presence, as we know, and they pulled in a variety of ways. What we're hoping through NAT joints now is to get them to realize that FMD is serious. But there is really no substitute for everybody sticking to the rules. And we can declare disaster management areas wherever we like. The reality is it's up to those people within there to stay within the rules. And this has certainly been the observation internationally when I have looked at the strategies that many other countries use. Many of the countries in Europe don't use a generic vaccination process. They rely on farmers adhering to the movement. And it has been very disappointing to see that even out of DMAs, we've had individuals being moved. As it relates to individuals in the department who are accused of not doing their job, I did answer the question very clearly to the journalist concerned. And I said to her, if people are not doing their jobs, there are HR processes underway in the department that will deal with them. Now, the nature of HR processes means that you cannot tell carte blanche, nor can I tell a portfolio committee what those processes are. But I can make the commitment that if people are found wanting and have not done their job, that we will deal with them decisively in the department. And there are processes underway to ensure that those who should be held accountable are held accountable. I assure the committee that I have committed myself to waging war on FMD, and I think that commitment will become very clear in the next few days, and that I'm determined that we will win this fight on FMD, and that we will get out from under it, and that we will, through sticking and adhering to the strategy and rolling it out in conjunction with the whole of society, that we could then make sure that this will be the last major outbreak of FMD that we have in the country, that we will bring certainty to this livestock sector in the country, and that we will slowly be able to regain market access to important markets internationally that have been closed to us for decades. And that is how we intend to grow the livestock sector in South Africa going forward. I, as a minister, remain absolutely committed to leading this from the front and working with the department to ensure, and hopefully with this portfolio committee, to ensure that we're able to prevail at the end of the day. I would ask that we're given the space and time to roll out the strategy and to demonstrate to you through the vaccines that will be coming in large numbers, and the rollout of those vaccines into the field along with private individuals, that we would then be able to together defeat FMD once and for all in South Africa. And I think that this committee, and in their term of office, can proudly say that they've played their role in finally allowing South Africa to move forward from these outbreaks that continuously bedevil us since 2019 into an era of more certainty in the livestock sector going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Just before we release you, I just want to indicate that I just check with you first. The discussions that you were supposed to have, Minister, with the Treasury to get funding for the ARC's FMD facility, since they have indicated that they need finance since 2024. When you came in, we went to the oversight on ARC and OBP, and we indicated in our report and recommendations that we made to yourselves and the Minister of Finance that you will need to prioritize funding that FMD facility at the ARC, so that we can then be able to be self-sufficient regarding vaccine production as a country, because indeed it's crucial, and we can't rely on other countries or even depend on importing vaccines, because my take is that that is not sustainable, and sometimes it's risky and expensive. So we will need to just check with you. We need to check with you as to how far are you in terms of the discussions, because where I am sitting, I'm thinking that as much as Botswana and the other countries, whether you say Argentina and all, are going to assist us with the vaccines. But the reality and the truth is that they are going to first consider and prioritize their own local demands before they could think of us. So I think it's very important that we also focus on our on building our facility at the ARC. Has there been any discussions, Minister, so far with the Minister of Finance or Treasury?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, yes, we have. We've also been in discussion with the ARC about alternative funding models, which perhaps the ARC would like to talk about. However, the ARC facility, as we as ministers were all asked to make our requests, that the FMD facility infrastructure is with National Treasury. I can confirm that.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Minister. We will hold you to your promise of making sure that we eradicate the FMD in our country, but we definitely have to prioritize ARC FMD facility.
Chair, can I have a follow-up question, please?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to the Minister to clarify where he said he wasn't sure about the delay with the submission of isolated strains and then submission to Pirbright. What I meant was that this outbreak is more than 4 years old. The Minister's been in office for around 18 months, and biosecurity is one of his priority areas. So why were there no strains isolated and submitted to Pirbright in the past 18 months? That's my first follow-up question. Then with regard to the Media 24 article by actual agricultural economists, I've been in touch with agricultural economists, including the authors, around this matter, so I'm fully aware and I have read the article. But, you know, I don't think that the acerbic commentary about snake oil salesmen and nasty individuals, etc., is going to be very helpful, especially when the Minister says that I echoed the sentiments of these so-called snake oil salesmen and nasty individuals. I didn't. I recall saying that we must use farmers and livestock owners as the frontline soldiers in this war. I didn't echo anybody's sentiments. I'm not here to be an echo chamber. I also want the Minister to know that there are farmers literally dying for vaccines. Now, I watched an interview with the CEO of Biogenesis, who said that they can provide 25 million doses a month right now. 25 million doses a month right now. We're still talking about acquiring vaccines. That's an area of concern for people whose livestock is dying. And then my last question is the issue around isolation, quarantine, zero income, no compensation for farmers is an issue that is a big issue, because if you rely on livestock for your livelihood and income and other people's livelihoods and you can't trade at all because you've been quarantined, that leaves a massive area of concern for millions of South Africans. And when will we receive the publication of the ARC OBP report of the 500 million rand investment that we made into the good manufacturing practice facility that didn't manifest? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trollip. Minister?
Yeah, Chairperson, all I would say is repeat what I said. If Design Biologics have a vaccine that they can produce for that amount of money, I would ask you simply this. Why are they then having to import a vaccine from Argentina? Why don't they take their vaccine to SAPRA tomorrow? And why don't you tell them to run along to SAPRA and register their vaccine? It's as simple as that. I've said very clearly that any person who can produce a vaccine must go to SAPRA, do the Section 21 application, and I will purchase vaccines from them. It's as simple as that. I don't know how more clear I can be on that. I understand fully well that farmers are desperate for the vaccines, and that is why we're doing everything we can to make sure those vaccines are in the hands of farmers and their veterinarians and the government and communal areas and feedlots and in the national herd as quickly as possible. There are snake oil salesmen out there, and there are plenty of them, and there are plenty of self-appointed experts in foot and mouth disease. I have to stick to the science and have to be science-led by the ministerial task team who provide that scientific advice. And again, I say this is a private-public partnership where the private sector is actively involved. And I have to ensure that we bring as many people along with us who want to be brought along with us. There are elements, however, who clearly are using this opportunity for to play politics, both within the agriculture sector as well as political party politics, and that's fine. That's that's probably why they exist. My job as minister is to follow the science and ensure that we have a rational response. And for the first time now in 30 years, we have a plan that has set immediate 12-month targets, 2 to 3 year targets, and ultimately 7 to 10 year targets to get South Africa to be free from F&D once and for all. That is the work I'm doing. I'm not going to be distracted by those who choose to not see the benefit of this. Very glad I've started to receive letters from the industry and from farmers saying thank you very much. We finally have some certainty on the way forward, and that certainty will grow as the vaccines get rolled out and that the plan starts to show that we can get to that 80% mark and that we can make sure that we reduce the incidence by 70%. A science-led process, funded, rolled out, using a whole of society approach, I think is the best way forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair Minister. Member van der Walt.
Chair, thank you. I just, sometimes in a situation where things like very doom and gloom, and so many people in agriculture is affected, and the chain reaction to many of these farmers, because there are a lot of down the line people who works with milk or meat, all the industries. Well, we must also say thank you. I mean, if you just took the issue about Pirbright, it's 15, almost 15 years later that for the first time we submitted to Pirbright. That's a major achievement. And also, if you look at the two vaccine types coming from Argentina and Turkey, now for the first time, is also that the quality of those vaccines that we are getting in, which is an oil-based, compared to the usual water-based we got that you had to use, I think it's like 3 monthly instead of now there are longer periods in between, so you get much further with those vaccines. And I think sometimes we must thank the department and specifically a minister who ended up in this, and the 2 million doses that we already got last year. So I think sometimes amongst all this very hardship, they are always positive, and as we move along forward with this, then obviously we can win this battle. Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to end off on a
Chairperson, there was one question that Honourable Trollip asked that I did not answer, and I apologise for that. Okay. Obviously, like any new policy, and bear in mind this is a fundamentally new policy, it's a 180-degree turn on what we've been doing in the past with the FMD. Now, obviously, with that, as Dr. Mogajani has said, we have to amend the regulations and the like. The department is busy with those, and obviously those will be required before we vaccinate. So they are receiving priority, and I'm confident that they are imminent and will be, and the like. It's interesting you say that, Honourable Trollip. You've sat on this committee for how many years? You've been a member of Parliament and the leader of the opposition. I never once recall you ever raising the Pirbright issue. But don't worry, I've done it in the 18 months I've been minister, and I'll continue to do it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Minister.
Chairperson, on a point of order, I never served on the Agriculture Committee in Parliament. I served on the Committee of Land Reform, and the Minister is misinformed at the very best, or being mischievous at the very worst. So I never served on the Portfolio Committee of Agriculture in Parliament whilst I was the leader of the opposition. Take another shot, Honourable Minister.
Well, you've been a member of Parliament a lot longer than I have. So, yeah. I'm glad it's been done. I think we should all just be happy that Pirbright has it now, and we can move on. Thanks.
Okay, Minister, thank you very much. Quite interesting that, Minister, you refer to the first time every time you address the issue of FMD. first time in 30 years, first time in this, as if the FMD has just started now in 2025, when we've had FMD outbreak in the past, and the ARC and OBP and the department head has been able to deal with it before, until when OBP was not able, or the board was not able to deal with issues to an extent that now you have a board. But I also want to say that you have a brilliant board in the ARC that has done its best, with the CEO there leading the pack. If you look at the history of the ARC, you can see that the team that we have now has done its best. And that is why I was saying to yourself, Minister, I would request that you intensify the discussion with the Minister of Finance in funding the FMD facility. I want to hope and believe that when the ARC comes to the portfolio committee, they will be able to also talk to the self-funding mechanism that you have indicated, and that they will be able to brief us when they come. I will leave the CEO now, because we may not have requested him to be ready to address that part. But I want to say thank you very much, Minister, and your team, DG and Dr. Mkhajane, and everyone else who's working very hard in the department to support you, Minister, to make sure that we fight FMD. It's in the interest of all of us as we sit here as the portfolio committee. I think yourself as the minister responsible for the department, to make sure that we work hand in hand together to fight the FMD, so that it does not affect issues of trade and issues of imports and the like. Thank you very much once more, Minister, for availing yourself. Our appreciation indeed.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the committee, and we look forward to coming back to brief you on vaccine progress and rollout progress as well. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. You can be released there, Minister, and your team. Honorable members, you still have to be here, because we have the second item that needs your participation. We will allow the department to leave us. You can have water or tea in the minute or two. Albertina and Nhlanhla, please help me. Do we have everyone else here? Okay. All right, the team that's left. Can we go back to the agenda, Albertina? Please fly to the agenda again. Am I talking alone? Albertina, where are you?
Yes, I'm here, Chair.
You must respond. Okay, the next item, can you just scroll up?
Chair, this laptop is always like freezing, so that is why I'm always delayed to play.
Okay, it's okay, I understand. Oh, so we have the Nonto and Nox, Noguzola and Nontobeko. Are you here? We are at the second item, which is briefing on study tour country. Nonto.
Good morning, Chair. Morning, members.
Chairperson, sorry, Chair, before we go to the update on the study tour, can we just as a committee wrap up the previous...
The discussion that we had with FMD, yes. No, thanks. We can do that. Would you
Chair,
like to come in?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Look, it's clear that we've got a minister who's very thin-skinned, who's very defensive, who doesn't really answer the questions that the members put to the minister properly, or his team. You know, for example, there were pertinent questions about why it took so long to declare a disease management area in KZN, which had the first major outbreak. There were questions about how many animals were actually vaccinated, because the department keeps claiming 12 million vaccines have been distributed. Dr. Mokgojane said 285,000 animals have been vaccinated to date. That is a drop in the ocean. And it's very clear that there is a hostile attitude between the minister and our portfolio committee, and his reference to members as Mr. this and Mr. that when we refer to him as the Honourable Minister.
Yeah,
I'm not being puerile, but I think the minister has actually been very puerile, especially with his concluding comments about I've been in politics longer than he has. That's neither here nor there. When I was the leader of the opposition in Parliament, there was no foot and mouth outbreak. There is a foot and mouth outbreak now, and he's the minister. And we can't have this kind of deflective responses from the minister and playing politics himself when he says everyone else is playing politics. He made reference to an article by Wandile Sikhobo and one of his colleagues, which I have read, but I've been in touch with Mr. Sikhobo, and he commended me for the leadership I've been showing, and I commend you, Chair, for the leadership you've shown in this matter. And we must understand that we are here as a portfolio committee to hold the executive to account, not have the executive hold us to heal. We are here to hold the executive to account, not the minister here to hold us to heal. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Honourable Trollip, I should have made a comment at the end when the minister was still here, when he made those reference. I also felt like it was beginning to be a I don't know what would be the right English word, for lack of a better word, an attack to the views of some of the members. Indeed, we have not gotten a response. I think I made a follow-up on how many animals have been vaccinated and what is it that we can take from the Eastern Cape, that which Dr. Mokgojane raised as exemplary. And the attitude of the minister, continuously referring to the first time in 30 years, I just did not want to ask this question because the very officials that he works with now, the ones that he refers to be the ones that are assisting him are the ones that have been there in the 30 years that he's talking about. So it's almost like we're playing politics instead of dealing with the issues of FMD, and we can't afford to score points. Indeed, on a very important matter of foot and mouth disease. I may not be an animal farmer, but I've been exposed to, and I've worked with farmers, dairy farmers, and the like before, and have experienced outbreaks. Experienced situation in the previous outbreaks that were bad, and that the department and the country was able to handle, So yeah, that's why I said to him, we will hold him to that promise of making sure that we deal with the FMD. We will have to make a follow-up. Maybe I should hear if there are other members who would like to say something, but I think we may want to make a follow-up with the minister maybe around March to see how far would they have gone in terms of the promise of the vaccination. And I want to call upon the communications support. I'm not very sure if we have one here, but we do have Surishni, who's dedicated. The last time when we went to the oversight visit, we had Sakile Mukwena. I don't think we have one today, but Albertina, you can assist me. We will need honorable members to request these officials, including ourselves, to make a follow-up, and not a follow-up, to try and follow the department's movements in relation to what they've presented here. One, on communications, the fact that they are saying they're rolling out communications, and that the minister says he has made an audio advert, or whether it's an audio advert or a video advert, that talks to the farmers in the country and explaining to them what's going to happen. I also want us, besides following them and see if they are sticking to their promise of communications, we may want to check as to how many times do they communicate, and how how effective is the communication. But also continue on our members to interact with these farmers and the organizations that they've been talking to us before, to see if help has actually reached them. In the Eastern Cape, there's a team, as I said earlier in the beginning of the meeting, that has been calling and calling. I said I was going to talk to them again this afternoon once we have listened to the presentation of the department. I think we need to keep our ears on the ground, but our eyes, they must be always open, and see how far are they dealing with the issue of the foot and mouth disease. It will help us a lot to follow through. The support team also, I think, it will play a very important part in just making sure that we get to know what happens from Friday. They say day one is going to start on Friday, when they receive these vaccines from the ARC. So we have to begin to monitor from there onwards. We will keep asking the department to provide us with information also, but it's very important to do our oversight on our own, so that we can compare information that we get from the department, and also that when we request them to update us in the next month or so, we would have information that we have. The unfortunate part is that if indeed the minister has taken a position to defend, he may have been attacked probably, or has felt that some organizations have not been able to support him, or were not happy. We all know there is no one who would be happy when their animals are dying, but it does not call for the minister to be defensive. For the minister's role is to make sure that farmers feel comfortable that there is something that is developing, and that something is done, and they must see something being done, so that they have hope, even if it starts in the KZN or in the Eastern Cape. At least the other provinces would then know that help is coming, and that they are not left alone. So yeah, I want to appreciate that, Honorable Trollip, and say that we will continuously make sure that we do oversight, continue to do oversight individually on your own, honor members, those that are in KZN, those that are in the Eastern Cape, and myself in Mpumalanga, those that are in provinces where were affected by foot and mouth. But thank you very much. I was trying to check if there's anyone else who would like to say something. There's no hand. We will then end there and say that we will follow up in the next month. We will sit with the management team of the support team and see what strategy can we come up with. But we would appreciate if you can have, if you could send proposals, so that we have a better way of dealing with oversight in the process. Mteto, I want to close. Do you want to say something? Honorable Mteto?
Yeah, yes, Chair. No, I just wanted to echo in saying that as part of things that the minister didn't address, which is critical, these alternative veterinary professionals forum. This is a racial group that works on advancing their interests against the state, and they are seen to be claiming some victories in the direction of which things are working. That's why I'm trying to ask the minister to say, are you working for the private sector such that you have bodies that are affirming you or advising you behind? But that is working against the national agenda of ensuring we bring everybody on board to make sure that that professional council does not work against the veterinary experts in the state and also in the communities where we are coming from. They are working parallel to what we're trying to do. And I was saying, minister need to pay attention to that group because it's very advancing their interest at the expense of the national interest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mteto. I am thinking as we conclude on the matter that maybe what we also need to do is to take all the questions that members feel that they were not responded to, and write to the minister from the office of the chair to request that we get the responses. I think Dr. Mokajane actually said he was going to send more information on issues that she has not responded to, but also to the part that she presented without a slide. So we can take advantage of that, and before they respond, we'll take these questions back to them so that while they prepare for the other questions, they also amalgamate the ones that we feel they have not answered. Well, thank you very much, honorable members. We can now that's how we conclude. We will come back to you even in the group, just to update you on what we have done in follow-up to the minister. And just before we go to the next item, by the way, there's a letter that we received from the minister. Albertina, I hope that you have shared. If not, please do share it.
Not
We have
yet,
received.
Chair.
Okay, please share it now. I just explained to the members. We received a letter from the minister. You'll remember this situation that we've had at the South African Veterinary Services Council last year. That went out of control and it ended up in the courts. The courts then instructed the minister to appoint the council within 3 months. I can't remember whether it was in October. So now we have received a letter. The minister is indicating that he has appointed the council and that elections were held. And he also gives us the names of the professionals that are sitting in the council, the ones that he has appointed and the ones that have been elected, and everyone else, non-professionals and professionals. Albertina will share the letter with yourselves. You'll see to it. We can now go to the second item. Nontobeko.
Yeah, good morning, good day, Chair. It's no longer the morning.
Yes, good day. Yeah.
And members. Chair, I think based on the last discussion, members were more inclined to look at Argentina. There were more reasons, or there was more favor to look at Argentina. So I've tried to go back and to look at how the legislature is structured and the similarities that we have. I've also tried to look at the Ministry of Agriculture. I think they call it Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and some of the public institutes that they have, so to kind of suss out exactly where and what could we try to do. So a lot of course, most of it is in Spanish. So I've been trying to just work around the translations and stuff. But so far, there's like an institute where they are doing hemp. They do an institute for viticulture, a seed institute, one for agricultural technology. And then they have one on agri-food health and quality service, which is more the food safety and the tracing of food safety standards. So far, Chair, that's kind of the broad overview of what I think the committee could try to look at. But I think Noxola and Albertina can speak to the process of how we formulate our program for such a visit. Also, I've checked in terms of the alignment in terms of their sector and how the government is structured, but also even for international organizations. So whether it's the IPU, the FAO and stuff like that. So I think there could be some, in terms of looking at laws or even the regulatory framework that's in place. So there could be some similarities. So they are part of some of these bodies. So whatever the frameworks that govern, international standards, we are in similar groupings. So I think we would be able to look at something from that perspective. Okay. In short, Chair, yeah, it's an ongoing area of work, but so far this is what I've been able to identify. Oh, and lastly, Chair, I have not identified regions or states within Argentina. I was looking so far at the national picture, but also because they are a federal state. So these are the national institutes, but we might even find, with the more we dig deeper into the different states, that there could be some areas of interest or entities that we could look at from that level. Thanks, Chair. Sorry, through you, Chair, also, I don't know if Albertina and Nozola can add to the discussion.
Chair, Mr. Trollip's hand is up. Chairperson?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Honorable Trollip's hand is up.
Yeah, I heard you. It means I was talking alone. I had, switched off my mic. Honorable Trolley.
Thank you, Chair. I was listening to the presentation around possible tour to Argentina. I think it's quite provident that we did consider Argentina, especially in light of the meeting that we've just had. I think there's no doubt that foot and mouth disease is going to be occupying our attention and will be at the forefront of a lot of our work as a portfolio committee and as a Department of Agriculture and a country in the years to come. And I think we would do really well having identified Argentina as a possible country for visitation and a study tour, because it's actually about studying, to identify the state that is the biggest beef breeding state in Argentina, that had the most success in the rollout of a comprehensive vaccination campaign, so that we can go and see firsthand for ourselves. Because there's nothing better than firsthand exposure for a committee, so that when we interact with our officials and politicians, that none of us can be hoodwinked. So I think we should really focus our overseas study tour to the most topical subject of the day in our committee right now, which is foot and mouth disease and its control, and go and see for ourselves, so that when we ask questions, we do so from a fully informed background, rather than having people running rings around us because we might not all have the same level of exposure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it helped that we identified countries and that Argentina was a part of it. And given the situation that we find ourselves in now, indeed, while in a long haul to deal with foot and mouth disease and the oversight thereof. Albertina and Nokuzola, did you want to say something? Honorable members, there you are. In the presentation, you can also raise your hand. Knox.
Chair, Mr. Trollip's hand is still up.
It's a legacy hand.
Okay. No, Chair, we are waiting for members to agree as a resolution that they want to go to Argentina. Then we can explain the process from here.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, if I can remind you, we would have raised, by the way, what were we focusing on, Nokuzola, before, when we looked at Egypt and the other countries? It was not FMD. We did not have a challenge with FMD that much, because at the time the minister said it's within control.
No,
Come
we
again?
did. No, FMD has always been in the picture in terms of
the
biosecurity.
other issues.
But it was not the other issues, Chair. It was the research was not comparative, Chair. For each country, it dealt with different issues. And then the members say they wanted more because you can't go to one country just for one thing. So I just did, which has been sent. Members can look at it at their own time, a comparative, because members chose Argentina and Egypt.
Yes.
to look at those, any one of the two countries, but didn't specify because they wanted more info. So I just did a comparative of the two countries in terms of just the sector overview, policy and legislation, research and innovation, extension, climate, resilience, and also in terms of biosecurity spotlight on FMD.
Okay.
And also the challenge that the countries face in terms of agriculture in general. So that's the briefing document that has been sent to members. So if members agree on Argentina, then we can be specific to Argentina in terms of areas of focus. There are other issues to look at other than biosecurity.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I think you helped with reminding us. Remember, we could, if it was the issue around biosecurity only, we could have decided there and then that we wanted to take Argentina. The fact that we said go and get more information was the fact that there were these other issues that needed to be comparative with our country, so that we don't go to a country that is a different, whether it is the weather and all sorts of things. I think you did well. Thank you very much. And Honorable Trolip already has proposed, and I was saying that because already we sit here with a challenge of biosecurity, and we sit here with which is what Honorable Trolip was saying, that we sit here with a situation of FMD outbreak, and we now have the department saying that it's also, importing vaccines from Argentina. And because of what Mr. Trolip has said, that we are on an overhaul a long way to deal with this issue. It may take us years to deal with the issue of FMD, and hence the department also have outcasted it to 5 years. So it will help us indeed, Mr. Trolip. I agree that we go to Argentina and get first-hand information on their situation on FMD and their vaccines, and generally how do they deal with issues of biosecurity and the others that we may want to look at. Honorable members, Nogzola says she has sent it to us. You can go and look at more. Can I hear if there is a seconder on Argentina, so that we can finalize and close the meeting?
Seconded. Chairperson.
Who's speaking?
Nandi.
Oh, Nandi, thanks. Ndalani is seconding the proposal by Honorable Trolip. Honorable members, are we agreeing? Are we agreeable on Argentina, so that we can allow Nogzola and the team to tell us what is the process from now?
Yes, Chair. Okay.
Yes,
okay. Thank you very much, Ndabezita. Nox, you can take the second part, or Nonto. What happens from now onwards?
Chair?
Yes.
It's Nokuzola.
Okay, Nox.
And the process now, okay, first of all, Argentina is in the southern hemisphere, so it's the same seasons as South Africa. Initially, I think the proposed date was March, which is next month. I'm not sure if it will happen.
It's not.
No.
It's not.
Because
We must not.
yes.
I was going to tell you about it. If not, we must look for another date.
So the members must choose, also considering that this year is also an election year, so there might be restrictions in terms of parliamentary program. So from here, because the committee has agreed on Argentina, we must have a tentative date. It could be April, May, just as a proposal, because we have to write a motivation and an application to the House chairperson. And so a date is crucial in the sense that before the application even goes, there must be quotations in terms of traveling days, flights, ground transport, and accommodation, and also liaison with DERCO, and who will liaise with the embassy in Argentina if there's one, or a commission, whatever diplomatic office is there. Those are the people that assist with the logistics, and also to determine whether, depending on the dates that the committee has proposed, whether the parliamentary committee on the other side will be available, because sometimes the committee here will propose an ideal date for them, only to find out that in that country it will be recess, for example, or it's elections. I'm just making examples of national priorities. Then when it's elections, they don't really have time for delegations. So those we do through the international relations. So the process is not fast. I just want to highlight that it takes time, because we have to liaise with these different offices. But we would love a tentative date that we can work on. March is already out, I would say. And also members must have valid international passports. That's just what I remember, Chair. I'm not sure if Albertina and Nhlanhla have something to add in terms of logistics before.
Sorry to butt in, Nomzola. The passport, the diplomatic, the official passport.
And the official passport.
Yes.
It's an official passport. That's what I said.
Okay, it's fine. Yeah.
And if members don't have valid official passports, they have to indicate that to Albertina, so that we can arrange that through Parliamentary International Relations Office.
Okay.
Albertina Nhlanhla.
No, see, I think I'm covered. You just explain everything.
Nhlanhla. Where's Nhlanhla?
Oh, sorry, Chair. I was trying to unmute myself.
Yeah, Nhlanhla, with your new agent, travel agent.
Chair, the biggest thing here is that when we start this process, it's very important that as members we then we get on board quickly. So if I'm requesting information, the quicker we get the information through, the quicker that we get the process started, because the process for an application process goes through 7 signatures. It goes all the way, it goes to the presiding officers, and then it goes to even through legal, through finance, to the CFO. It's a lengthy process. So it's ideal that we actually, if we, for example, were to go on a certain date, we start the process 2 months before that date that we have identified. Otherwise, then we will be losing the flights and everything. Regarding the agency that we currently have, they don't have the capacity to hold flights and accommodation. So the quicker we get that information through, we get the quotes, we get things signed, we get all the passports, and if then there are vaccines that need to be taken, we go through that as well. Then we actually will be in a position whereby, you know, everything is sorted within time. We've reserved our flights and accommodation and not do things on the last minute. So it can't work, like, for example, with an oversight where even on that week that we are traveling, we can still do changes and things like that. There will be no changes that are done here the minute we start this process. We just need to flow with everything that is in front of us with those tickets. So there'll be no things of changing tickets, changing accommodations, changing that. So it's quite a lengthy process, and if we have all the information on our side on time, it's just easy then to just actually reserve and book and start that process with the travel agent.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thanks. Just to respond to your issues, first, it should be on the what is it? The official passports, that department or section, international relations section, is a bit challenging. So you have to submit your information on time so that they can start processing. My experience with them is that they are the slowest office I've ever met. So you can deal with that. And all the other things, I think you are fine. And all you can do is to communicate with us, with the members in the group, and we'll start responding. The one issue that I also wanted to raise is on the dates. You are right, March it's out. Just even without the arrangement of the visit, just to arrange everything else, it would be a very short notice. So you can take it out. That's my proposal. You can take it out. I agree with you, to April. At most beginning of May if April doesn't work. And then I have Honorable Trollip.
Yeah, Chair, just a heads up for members and even support staff. If you contact the official travel passport office in Parliament, if you don't have a valid current personal passport, which you can apply for at Home Affairs, and it takes not too long, probably 3 weeks. But if you go through the Parliamentary Passport International official passport channel, they make an appointment with you with Home Affairs, and you go in there, and within a week you can get an official passport. So if members want to attend, they need to get onto that immediately. Otherwise, it could prevent members from attending a really important oversight. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. And then there's an issue raised here on the chart. Oh, the question about PIP right. Strange. Okay. Okay, no, I see what you're saying here. Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Trollip. And Honorable Trollip is very sure of you guys that you are always ready to do your part. And indeed, I applied mine through the office, the International Relations branch, and it takes a week indeed once you make an appointment. Then you go to Home Affairs. But if you go there to Home Affairs and make yourself an appointment, because you can make an appointment on your own online with Home Affairs, it's going to take about 2 weeks, and it can stretch out to the third week probably. But Knox and Albertina and I will advise. I think the advice that Honorable Trolip is giving it's much better, because we know people have already appointments once we hand it over to international in Parliament. Honourable members, I want to believe that you are fine. Everything else you are covered with the information that would come from Nhlanhla and Albertina on the group. We will always respond, and if there is a question, you can always ask them or ask through the group, and you'll get the answer. Is there any other item, Albertina, that I'm missing on the agenda?
No, Chair, this is the last item.
Okay.
Chair, can I just update members with regard to next week's meeting?
Please.
Yes, Chair, remember in the Ngakha, when we were in Ngakha, the decision was that we must invite again the TGK group farming to come. Yes. So we did share, and they are available for next week Tuesday. Virtual meeting. Yes, they confirmed that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
And you did indicate to them what we expect from them, so that they don't come and they don't come without prior knowledge of what they are supposed to be presenting to the committee.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Appreciation. Well, honorable members, there we are. I want to thank you very much for your time and and your willingness to participate. We still have a long way, I think, with the FMD. As I said earlier on, oversight is very important from your own constituencies. It will help us to understand what's going on, and we share this information amongst ourselves, even before we request the official briefing from the department. And now what we'll do, we'll send again the questions that were not responded to. Albertina and Nokzola, you must have noted those, and then we will send them back to the department to give us a written submission, so that we have answers. And when we come back in the near future, we don't have to go back to those questions. And the last part is the one that we just discussed on the tour. Thank you very much for approving that we should go, and we indeed probably it was for the best that we could not finalize last year and take a decision to go to any particular country, because we would have missed this opportunity to go to Argentina and see exactly how they deal with issues of biosecurity and any other matter on agriculture in their country that would help us. Thank you very much once more, honourable members. We meet next week on Tuesday. We will finalize the part of the oversight on the Ngakha farming project when the last private partner comes to make a presentation. And have a lovely week ahead. See you next week on Tuesday. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.